6:30, and I will call to order the January 2026 City Council meeting for the City of Alstyne. If y'all will join us in the invocation followed by the pledges. Heavenly Father, we are thankful to live in this community and in this great state and in this country at this time. We are mindful that you have placed us in this position so that we may do the work and gather your wisdom, and we ask for that wisdom tonight. Lord, we are so thankful for our city employees, all of our city staff, and those visitors who are citizens and visitors who are here with us tonight. We ask that you give us wisdom to represent them all wisely. It's in Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Item 3 on our agenda is a proclamation, which I will read at this time. Whereas July 4th, 2026 marks the semi-quincentennial of the signing of our country's Declaration of Independence, a defining moment in the history of the United States of America, and whereas America 250 is a nationwide commemoration recognizing 2.5 centuries of freedom, democracy, innovation, and resilience, honoring the sacrifices and achievements of generations who built and defended this nation, with a focus on honoring America days that encompass Flag Day, June 14th, commemorating the adoption of the United States flag on 14 June 1777, Emancipation Day, 19 June, Juneteenth, or the day Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, and ensured all formerly enslaved people were freed, and Independence Day, 4 July, the day the Continental Congress approved the final wording of the Declaration of Independence. And whereas the city of Van Alstyne, Texas, joins communities across the country in celebrating this milestone, reflecting on our shared values of liberty, equality, and justice, while recommitting ourselves to building a brighter future for all. And whereas this commemoration provides an opportunity to engage residents in civic pride, cultural expression, historical reflection, and visible displays of community involvement, ensuring that the legacy of America's founding continues to inspire generations to come. And whereas the city of Van Alstyne, Texas recognizes the importance of honoring the diverse voices, stories, and contributions that have shaped our nation for over 250 years, and celebrates the unity that binds us together as Americans. Now, therefore, that the city of Van Alstyne proudly honors America 250 and encourages all residents to participate in commemorative events, educational programs, and community celebrations that reflect the enduring spirit of our nation, and hereby accepts this official American 250 flag in honor of our citizens' dedicated support to the ideas our Declaration of Independence articulated 250 years ago. In witness, therefore, thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed this 13th day of January in the year 2026. That is our proclamation. I believe that's the Has the flag that I mentioned.
Yeah, I would just say it's from the Grayson County Historical Commission. I think that was left out, but that's who it's from.
Excellent.
Yeah, if we can get a picture for our commissioners, we can make them take the pictures.
Commissioner Moore.
I'm going to go out here.
I'm happy to.
Are we supposed to be behind you?
It's good. Smile. It's great. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dusty.
Yep.
Ignore the bunny ears.
Okay. Thanks for your attention to that. That may be the longest speech I've ever given.
You didn't have to memorize it.
Exactly. Item 4 on our agenda is public testimony. This is an opportunity for any member of the public who desires to address the council regarding an item on the following open meeting agenda is invited to speak for up to 3 minutes. You would have needed to fill out a card. Has anyone filled out a card? Susan, no cards. Does anyone want a last-minute exception? Good, because I'm probably not inclined to do that. Very good. Seeing no opportunities for recognition, we'll declare item 4, public testimony, closed, other than the public hearing that's coming up later on the agenda. Item 5, presentation. Item A, we're going to move that to our executive session, consultation with our attorney, who is here tonight, and we'll handle that later. Item B is presentation of fiscal year 2025 audit presented by Vale and Park PC, and consider adopting a resolution accepting the audit as presented. Susan LaFava, thank you and welcome back.
Yes, great to be here. I've got a PowerPoint, and I guess I just push this button.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yes, as the mayor said, I'm Susan LaFava, and I'm representing Vale Park, and we did do the audit as of September 30, 2025. It's really great that we are here tonight. I was here in July for the last year, but this time the city staff, especially Sherry, really pushed it through and helped us, helped you, so we were able to get this done in time, well before the March 31 deadline. So I'll go over this at a high level, and then if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me. Our agenda tonight is the objective and scope of the audit, an overview, the audit results, a few financial highlights, some management recommendations, and any questions that you may have. So tonight, the objective of the audit is to follow the Texas Local Government Code that says that cities must have an audit, and it's supposed to be due 180 days after year end, and then this year the state is trying to enforce that, so it's a great thing that we're here, we're getting this done. The scope of the audit, we conducted our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards in the U.S. and government auditing standards. We did document and test the accounting internal controls. We performed risk assessment to determine the nature, extent, and timing of our substantive audit procedures. And we're required to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. And we performed tests of the city's compliance with certain provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, grant agreements, and that kind of thing, including the Public Fund Investment Act. That's part of the Yellow Book audit. So there is a letter in your packet as well, and it goes over a lot of required things that we need to communicate to you, the council. There are no significant changes to our planned audit strategy in there. No additional identified risks. Results of our work performed, there's no independence matters to report, and there's no identified material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to report. We are issuing an unmodified audit opinion on the financial statements and a compliance report that has no findings, and that's your Yellow Book. Other matters, there's nothing really else that we need to tell you, so that's all good. The independent auditor's report is an unmodified audit report opinion, which is the clean opinion, and that's what everybody wants to see. And then our report on internal controls and compliance, of course, showed no matters, weaknesses, significant deficiencies, or any of that. So there's nothing detected there. Your bound report is the financial highlights. This is the index of everything that is in there, and I'll just run down that real quick. On pages 1 through 3 is our independent auditor report. 5 through 10 is your management discussion and analysis, and that is basically a verbal summary of everything that happened during the year. And government-wide financial statements are on page 13 through 15. That's your full accrual, all activities government-wide, your water fund, your governmental activities, and your 2 component units, EDC and CDC, are all on those first statements. And then in the fund financial statements, with your governmental activities are at page 16 through 19. Your water fund is 20 through 22. We have notes to the financial statements, which are your required disclosures. Those are on page 23 through 52. There's also required supplementary information, that's your budget and your TMRS disclosures. They're on page 55 through 61. There is some you do have non-major funds, and those are combined and summed up before they're brought up front, so they're just reported in the back, along with your EDC and CDC funds, and your Yellow Book report is on page 80 through 81. So if you want to read through those financials later, or if you haven't already, I would recommend it. On page 13 through 15 is your government-wide financial statements, as I said, and as of the end of the year, September 30, 2025, the city had total net position of $81,320,414, which is an increase of $5.8 million from last year. And 5.8 of the increase does relate to contributed capital from developers. So when those assets come over and get donated to the city, they can make quite an impact on your reported net position. The rest, the breakdown of your total net position, net investment in capital assets is $41 million. Restricted net position, monies that are set aside for certain things like debt and that kind of thing, is $29 million. And then your unrestricted net position is 10.6, and that can be used to run the city and is not spoken for. So on the government-wide financial statements, we'll go into just a little bit of detail over the activities. On your governmental activities, total revenue decreased by $3.3 million or 14% from fiscal year 24. Property tax, sales tax, and capital contributions are your largest source there, but your capital contributions did decrease by $3.8 million in your governmental activities this year. Your total expenditures are $1.2 million or 8%. Have gone up 8% from fiscal 24, and your largest increase was attributable to general government and police. Your water fund or business fund type activities had total decrease in revenue of $6.4 million or 38%, and that also is due to your decreased capital contributions. The total expenses went up by $633,000 or 9% from last year, and that was mainly due to maintenance and repairs. Okay, if we're looking at the general fund, there is a 3-month reserve that is set aside. Basically, if you looked at your unassigned general fund balance divided by your total general fund expenditures for 12 months, you would get this calculation. And the GFOA does say 3 to 6 months is good, so you're in line with that. The water and sewer fund unrestricted net position. Let's talk about that. The unrestricted net position of the water and sewer fund decreased by $290,000 or 3%. And it does represent 14 months of reserve, but the GFOA doesn't necessarily say that you have to have a specific reserve there because that fund is supposed to pay for itself. So the water sales is supposed to run the fund, but you do have a little bit of reserve there, which is good because you'll probably have to have future repairs and maintenances and things. So that's set. Good night. There we go. Okay, this year went really, really well. We basically had no findings, very few comments, and we were able to get in, get it done. The city was completely prepared. There were very few audit adjustments, I think maybe only 5 or 6. So the few recommendations that we did have is the investment policy. I think there is one around, but we need to possibly update it and present it to you on a quarterly basis. The pooled cash is something that will really, really help the city, but it's very hard or time consuming to implement. The software has the ability to use one account and pool it to all your different funds rather than having all the 20 some odd accounts that you have. You could reduce that to one. So when you go to reconcile, it's going to be much, much easier, and the software will automatically allocate to these funds once it's set up, but it is a big task. And so I know it's been on the city's goals, and so I think Sherry's going to try to do that this year. Also, on the budgetary comparison, we just recommend that you monitor that to make sure you're in compliance. Definitely want to thank Sherry and Kimberly again. And does anyone on the council have a question for me?
Questions from council?
Is all of the CDC stuff was straightened out this year?
Yeah, that was all straightened out actually last year. Yeah, in July, it kind of became sort of inconsequential because the component units are very important to themselves, but as the city as a whole, it wasn't. But now, basically with the county being taken care of, the city and that kind of thing, everything's smoothed out, and we didn't notice anything there.
Thank you. I think what Katrina is referring to is they were on a different system at one time.
For years, it kept
Yes.
comment. The only thing really you brought up.
The same thing over, well, it kind of took over the audit and we weren't able to focus on the city because we're having to deal with that, but the city, it's under control and that's all gone, so bravo.
Yes. Other questions or comments from council? Comments from staff?
Love a clean audit.
Absolutely. So I would congratulate all of our city staff, including our department managers who are not here tonight. I know they have put in a lot of effort, not only starting with the budget, which is coming up upon us quickly, but also just tracking everyday expenses and make sure those are all tied to receipts and all the work that goes into spending the money that we have. So again, congratulations to the finance staff and city management. Very well done. Glad we don't have issues in that area that we have to how to manage. And thank you, Susan. We appreciate your all's responsiveness. I know the state put the requirement on all cities to get audits done within 6 months, and we appreciate you prioritizing the city of Alstyne to get us done according to the new state guidelines.
Yes.
That concludes presentations. Item 6 on our agenda is a public hearing. Yes? Sorry.
Mayor and council,
Oh, we need a resolution there, don't we?
yes, yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So would entertain a motion adopting a resolution accepting the audit as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Katrina has made the motion to approve, and Marla has seconded that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion carries 7 votes to 0. Thank you, David. Moving on to 6, public hearings. Conduct a public hearing, consider an act upon a resolution adopting land use assumptions and a capital improvement program related to the roadway impact fees.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jake Gudekunst with the Goodman Corporation. Good to see you all again. Just wanted to kind of give a quick update on why it's been a few months since we've seen you. We'll cover some of that tonight. But we were intending to come back in the fall when the folks down at the Capitol decided to change the laws regarding impact fees a little bit. So kind of quick summary of that before I hop into everything else. So Senate Bill 1883 went into effect September 1st, and that impacted some of the notification requirements before we could have this public hearing tonight. Effectively, it made the notice about 90 days longer than it used to be, and so we consulted with the council for the city, and we elected that it was best not to try to cram it in and push it forward in September, and that we would want to make sure we did things underneath the new law that went into effect September 1st. So that's why it took a while to get back. But I will cover a couple things for tonight. So for this public hearing and what we're covering today, effectively I can sum it up as we're talking about the assumptions that go into calculating a maximum fee that y'all could charge in the city for roadway impact fees if you choose to adopt roadway impact fees. And so that's the land use assumptions in the capital improvement plan. That's attached in your agenda packet. So like all the details with the map of the projects and then how much growth is in there. We'll cover a little bit of that. But what I wanted to hit on first is the comprehensive plan coordination piece. So we have been working hand in hand with the comprehensive plan team to make sure that these are lined up. When you set them on top of each other, the lines on the map line up. The projects make sense in the city that we've got in here, and they're actually reflected on the draft thoroughfare plan that the comprehensive plan team was doing at the same time. We also lined up with their future land use map that they've been working on as well. So these two efforts were coordinated on purpose and done at the same time. One of the big features that you'll notice in the CIP and should also be in the draft thoroughfare plan for the comprehensive plan is looking at additional relief routes and local connections through collectors in town. The Grayson County MPO plan really is focused on regional mobility and those big arterials that go through town, like Panther Parkway and further ones up north, east-west, and then other routes on the east and west side. And so this is looking at trying to make sure we got some local mobility stuff in there for the city as well, in the city limits. So we did a pretty big effort on that, worked together with staff and the comprehensive plan team to get some of those identified. The other thing we did on this one that's really important for y'all is we looked at intersection improvements. We know that the traffic has gotten worse in some places when the frontage roads switched over this past summer. So there are projects to help improve intersections as well as part of this package that we worked through and identified, which usually can move faster and are cheaper in nature in terms of getting them off the ground. Quick reminder on impact fees. You already have water and wastewater. The big difference with roadways is we can't do anything outside the city limits. So it kind of complicates things because your city limits is fluid. So when we do this, it's basically a snapshot in time of kind of late 2025 is what the effective service area is going to be. We look at the next 10 years for growth. We did a lot of work on that back in the summer, going through work with the future land use map, but also a couple of reports that I'll cover in a minute. And then the biggest difference here is y'all are probably used to one house is one land use equivalent for water and sewer rates. It's based on a meter. Roads are a little more tricky. It's based on how much traffic they generate in the afternoon peak hour. So there's a big conversion table that comes in the report when I come back after we get through this first part of the assumptions. And then eventually what we'll talk about with the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee is once we have that number for what we can legally charge from the study, then we can talk about the policy piece, which is how much would you actually want to collect for different developments. We'll have examples of what other cities are doing when I come back to show you how much they're charging. I know it's always a question of, is this competitive with our neighbors to the north, south, the east, and west, and then any other kind of maybe reductions that you could offer and make it lower for things that you want for other city objectives. Some places that can be affordable housing, that's a big issue across the country right now. Some places may want commercial development of certain kinds, so they might want to charge lower rates than their neighbors to try to attract them. That's just different things that have been done. So right now, just the two things before you go on the public hearing tonight are the land use assumptions and the capital improvements plan. This represents 10 years of growth. Like I said, we did a pretty robust analysis process for this to try to really nail this down and actually kind of fine-tune that with the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee back in July of last year. And so one of the things that we used that was pretty detailed was there was this trade area report from Residential Strategies back in the early part of 25 that really looked at comprehensively not just the city, but the whole county area and everything nearby, development activity that was going on. And then we also tried to make sure that these aren't totally out of alignment with the water and wastewater assumptions that were done in 2024. So we kind of calibrated these and that stuff. So how does this shake out? A lot of numbers on the screen, but let me boil it down simply for you. We think most of the future development is going to be single family for the residential side, a little bit of multifamily. That's basically assuming about 2 apartment complexes over the 10 years, roughly, is how many units that represents. And that's based on the future land use map from the comp plan team. And then for non-residential development, that's where it's a little bit more nuanced. But really what we were looking at was we think a lot of the industrial that's left is going to develop in the next 10 years based on activity on those tracks on the southeast side of town. In the city, rather. Remember, it's all in city limits. There could be a lot more outside in the county, obviously, but this is the city limits as a reminder. And then about anywhere from about 25 to 50% of the other commercial uses, which is retail, and then service means kind of civic or office or other kinds of quasi-governmental space. And so this was based on the future land use plan. Just kind of as a note, and Alex or someone else can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the last couple of years it's been around the 150 to 250 houses per year that y'all are doing, and this looks at about 300 houses a year is what we're doing over 10 years. That assumes that it's continuing to kind of increase over time, and so that's why it's a little bit higher than the amount that you kind of have per year going on right now. So that's what that represents. Back in July, the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee recommended this table to be the one that we use in our assumptions. Questions on that, and then I can move to Capital Improvements Plan. Okay. Keep going. Just a reminder of what you can spend impact fee dollars on and what counts. Basically, you have to have If you want to spend proceeds from this program on a project, it has to show up on the map. That's kind of number one rule. It's got to be on there if you want to spend on it. It has to be a project that increases automobile capacity. That's kind of the main test there. You can include soft costs, including land acquisition or right-of-way, and then you can also pay for debt service on projects that are still incurring debt. So things like blasting games and other ones that y'all have debt on right now and issued COs for, we can actually use the money from the proceeds to help pay off the debt and lower your debt burden as a city. Some cities actually exclusively spend their money on debt service. So it kind of just depends on how you want to do it. And then the cost that y'all are paying us to do this, that actually gets wrapped up in there too. It's a nominal amount in the overall cost I'll show you in a minute, but it can be recovered and paid for. Not expecting you to read this map, but there's about 30 roadway projects, 35 roadway projects, and 16 intersections that are kind of spread all around town geographically. Like I said, there's kind of some of the arterial roads, but also some of those more localized connections. There's 35 roadway projects that are all widening or new alignment roads, and that's about $116 million. There's 16 intersections, again, a lot smaller number, but higher impact projects. Some of those are traffic signals. There's a few locations where roundabouts made sense, and then some turn lane improvements too. So in total, we're looking at rounding up about $130 million in projects over 10 years is what this assumes, and that's a combination of can be a combination of development contributing also to the city on those. So, and that's what was identified as the need. So those are the assumptions, and then we can have the public hearing here in a second. But just in terms of what's next, so there's another item later tonight about the second public hearing with y'all on the fee, and then the ordinance itself. To consider if y'all want to adopt that. But we have to come back to that Capital Improvements Advisory Committee over the next few months and have them come back with a recommendation on the policy piece. So they're going to deliberate, talk about, there's kind of three things that I usually go through with them. It's what should the rates be? Is it a percentage of the maximum? Is it something else? Should it vary based on the type of land use? And then they'll deliberate some stuff and share their thoughts with y'all. But ultimately, this body decides all of that. They just kind of give you a framework to work with. And then we'll come back after they've done that.
This body is in council?
Council
Okay.
decides. Yeah, council decides.
I didn't know if you
The
were
advisory
back.
committee gives you
Okay.
gives you a recommendation. So what you saw tonight was the July version of the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee's recommendation. So I think that's all. Just quick notes in red on the bottom here. There's some why we had to delay for this one, but also just timing of these things is always really specific about advertisements in the newspaper, having a resolution here to call the hearing. Basically, we have to have an ad in the newspaper 30 days before the next public hearing. And then also the committee has to make a recommendation 5 days before this body meets to consider the second public hearing. And then lastly, just to make it real fun, once you close the public hearing, you have 30 days to adopt or not adopt an ordinance. So that's just the calendar requirements, chapter 395 of the government code. It's complex and lots of timing stuff, but that's where I'm here to help you guys navigate that. So, questions?
Questions from council?
Did the study take into account the ease of being able to acquire right of way on new roads and things like that, like versus private property owned and versus different zone property and?
Not necessarily. They didn't get into that level of detail. And part of that's because this is a program that's intended to be with development rather. So really what's happening is as a development comes in, if they have a project that's needed on there, they could actually build the project instead of paying the fee and do the right-of-way dedication as part of that. If it's city-led, obviously, you want things to fit in the right-of-way that's there or that's already in place, but that wasn't determined about, whether to include a project or not because it's such a long time frame.
Yeah, and it's more, in my mind, on new roads that we were putting in,
Right.
Going through private property and things like that. Like, was that, I know in the master plan we had some consideration in that, but was it considered in this particular project as well? Or is it just, hey, that's what the master plan said, we want to put a road there, so.
I think we kind of defaulted to the master plan in that case on this one. Yeah.
Other questions from council? Ready for the public hearing? Sure. At this point, I will call the public hearing to order regarding our land use assumptions and capital improvement program for roadway impact fees. I'll just make a comment or two. Up until now, what we have done for street improvement dollars when a development comes in, they're of course responsible for internal streets to that development. We can also require that they pay for any street that they touch in their development. So if it's alongside the development, they can either improve that street or put money in escrow. What you end up with in that situation, what we have is some pockets of streets where a beautiful, nice 4-lane concrete street, but you go a quarter mile, half mile, even less, you're back to a 2-lane original county road. So should this pass and when it gets approved, we'll be able to take that money across the city and pool it and apply it where it makes sense. So we can complete an entire street using developer money, perhaps as much as 50% developer money. The city's still going to have to put in some of it, depending on what the committee decides and this council. So that's kind of what this is all about, is changing the way we collect money from developers so they help pay the way for new development in the city of Alstyne. So we'll open it up for public hearing. Would anyone like to comment on what we've heard so far, or your own thoughts or comments? Second call for public comment on our roadway impact fees. Third and final call. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing at this time. And we have consider and act upon a resolution adopting that. So that is actually on our consent agenda. But I would like to pull it off at this time, so I'm going to call the action item 7K, adopt a resolution setting a public hearing date, time, and place regarding the possible adoption of a roadway impact fee.
Mayor, just a point of clarification.
Yeah, please.
On the presentation portion, item 5A, 5B is, no, sorry. Public hearing item 6A is a resolution to act on the land use assumptions and capital improvement program. The other two items on the consent agenda are related, but they are
different things. Okay, so we need the resolution first.
Yes, sir.
That's what you're telling me. Thank you for that clarification. So would entertain a motion to adopt the land use assumptions and resolution. A resolution adopting land use assumptions and capital improvement program.
Make a motion. And I'll second it.
Dusty has made the motion and Ryan has seconded the motion. Any further comment from the council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed or abstaining? That motion carries 7 votes to 0. Now we'll go to the consent agenda and consider item K, adopt a resolution setting a public hearing date, time, and place regarding the possible adoption of a roadway impact fee. Jake.
Hi, I'm back. Okay, well, now that we finished the other public hearing, we can talk about this one. So, Chapter 395 basically requires that after you go through the process of the assumptions, which I'll just had an action on and had a public hearing for, then you can set a date to come back and talk about the actual study, which would include a maximum fee that I'm helping calculate for y'all, as well as the recommendations from the advisory committee on the policy or a draft ordinance of how you might implement such a program to then deliver it at that time. So that's what this item is for, is to set a public hearing at a future date for that consideration.
Okay, and I have that date as, sorry, it's the 10th of March, 2026 at 6:30 at City Hall.
Yep.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
On the, like, what's the range of, like, in policy that, like, you're allowed from state law to be able to move? Like, is it pretty narrow or is it pretty broad?
It's very broad and customizable. But what I will do, again, like I said at that meeting specifically, is I'll explain kind of what other cities are charging, how theirs have gone into effect nearby y'all. So I'll kind of do a compendium of here's what they're charging, here's how long they took to let theirs go into effect. But there's really 3 things. The 3 main points that I like to cover is effective date. So if you're going to do it, when do you want those fees to take effect? The state law specifically says if you have a plat, you cannot be charged impact fees for 1 year from the effective date of the resolution. After that time, even if you had a plat, it could still apply because it's a fee. And so that's one of the questions we talk about, is that there's a lot of different ways of doing it, and some places take that different ways. And then the other piece of that is how much to charge, the collection rate. That's the big question, is, how variable do you make it across land uses? You have one service area, that's nice. So you're not going to really vary it within the service area itself, but you could vary it by land use type. And then special reductions for other things, like I mentioned earlier, if you have concerns about other city policies that maybe it could be helped by a lower rate or a higher rate for that matter for non-desirable land uses, you could do that too. So that's really what we get into.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, it's time for a motion to adopt a resolution setting the date, time, and place.
I'll make a motion for March 10th.
Second.
Brian has moved and Marla has seconded March 10th, 6:30 PM at City Hall. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? That motion carries unanimously. Item L on the consent agenda is adopt a resolution appointing membership to the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee as a result of the changes in the state law.
I think Alex handed out a few things for y'all that I can cover, but I'll be brief on this one. So just as a reminder, it was Senate Bill 1883, that he's got a few things he's going to hand out quick, that was went into effect September 1st, affecting Chapter 395 of the Texas Local Government Code. The biggest one on here that I'll highlight, which is, I believe it's on slide 16, is that the CIAC that we were using, that was legal and in effect at that time, was the P&Z, but that provision was struck from the state law. So we can no longer just default to P&Z as your Capital Improvements Advisory Committee. One important thing I'd like to note is the CIAC is not just for a potential roadway fee, but it's for your water and wastewater as well. So just kind of consideration in mind for that. But the biggest change was the composition had to be folks in the city limits that were residents with up to one member from the ETJ for those water and wastewater ones. And then it used to be that it was 40% of the representatives had to be representative of the development industries, including real estate development or buildings, but that now is 50% of the group. So there's a couple other ones I can answer questions on relating to things we can talk about in March, but that's the one on CIAC. It also cannot be members, employees or officials of a political subdivision or government entity are not allowed to be serving on the CIAC. So those are kind of the main things for that. The role and capacity of them, just real quick, is they're supposed to be advising on the assumptions we went over earlier tonight, the fee, ordinances or what to charge, and then semi-annual updates on progress if it goes into effect on collections and expenditures. That's kind of the role of that group for all impact fees that the city might have. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Questions from council?
What's the number? How many do you have to have on it? Like, what's the minimum? And
It doesn't have a minimum or a maximum. It just says 50% must be from development community. So, yeah.
Where did you get these people?
Let Alex talk
An
to you.
Alex question.
I think Jake may have alluded to it momentarily ago, but in the past, we had the Planning and Zoning Commission serve as the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee, and we had one member of the local real estate profession community to serve on the committee as well, Mr. Bill Benton. And so that's the committee that made the recommendations for the land use assumptions and capital improvement program that you acted on this evening. However, with the changes in state law, we have had to retool the committee. And so what we've done is we've looked back to the Planning and Zoning Commission to find the eligible members that are currently serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then we looked, there was essentially two vacancies at that point, number 4 and number 5 on the slide here. And these were individuals we identified that met the qualifications, meaning living in the city limits and being employed in a real estate, business, or construction industry. And so it's just discussion with other staff to try to identify individuals that would be eligible to serve, and we reached out to them. And so we had a targeted need, so we did targeting recruiting.
Thank you. Other questions or comments?
Mayor and Council, just to interject, the 395-058 says shall be composed of not less than 5 who are appointed by majority vote. And this is one of the bills I think that we covered in the post-legislature wrap-up that would have an impact on cities. So.
Thank you, David. Not less than, yeah, that's right, not less than 5, and no more than 1 can live outside the city, and they have to be in the ETJ.
Yeah, I should have just read off the 305, but 5.
That's fine, yeah. Okay, any other questions or comments?
but it is still legal to have planning and zoning commission individuals on the board, just not the board
Correct. The
itself
P and Z
as
can no longer serve as your board. It has to be separate.
individuals on the P and Z can still serve.
Correct, so long as you hit the 50% building.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
And that, these 5 people do that?
Can council remove them for?
Yes, as with all boards, they serve at the pleasure of council.
Other questions or comments?
How is P and Z not considered a subdivision or governmental entity? I'm just making sure we understand that.
The term subdivision of local government usually, or subdivision of state, usually applies to sort of corporate bodies such as the city, to some special purpose divisions, but the P and Z would be a sub-board of that. So it in itself wouldn't be considered a subdivision of state or a subdivision of the city.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, it's time for a motion to appoint a capital improvement advisory committee.
I'll make a motion to approve the capital improvement advisory board.
Do you have those names in front of you?
I do. Let me name them all.
Please.
Mark McKinney, Craig Page, Jim DuBois, Rodney Blockett, and Nathan Vargo.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Angelica, seconded by Ryan. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries 7 votes to 0. All right, thank you all very much. Good work being done there. Look forward to seeing you back over the next several months. And thank you to city staff, because I know this is not the primary part of the job, but it is something that will help us move forward in the future. That takes us back to our consent agenda, item 7. We've already handled K and L, and Marla has recommended or asked that we take item A off the agenda. Is there anything else on the consent agenda that council would like to remove? H and I will be removed. Anything else? Would entertain a motion then to approve the consent agenda following items: B, C, D, E, F, G, and J, and M.
I'll make a motion to approve those.
Katrina has moved to approve those consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
Lee has seconded that motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed or abstaining? That motion carries unanimously. Item A on our consent agenda is approved minutes from the October 14 and November 12, 2025 City Council meetings. I think Marla removed this because she was absent from one of those and was not comfortable voting for the minutes. Got a motion to approve from Lee on both of those minutes? And second from Katrina. Yes. All in favor of the motion to approve those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstaining?
Aye.
That motion carries 6 votes to 0, with Ms. Butler abstaining. Item H, adopt a resolution approving a First Amendment to interlocal cooperation agreement for law enforcement services with Risland Mantua LLC, Van Alstyne Municipal Utility District Number 1 of Grayson County, and Van Alstyne Municipal District Number 2 of Collin County, and authorizing the city manager to sign said agreement. Mr. Jones, feel free to include item I in your discussion as well. It's very similar.
Item H and I do go hand in hand with one another. This is an amendment to the ILA so that it aligns with the development agreement that was approved by City Council on October 23rd of 2025. There's no revision to that change beyond aligning the ILA with the development agreement.
Can I ask
Mark?
a question?
You may.
Bud related.
You may.
Are there any legal allowances, or I don't know if that's the to it, but where we could take part of their money, redo that agreement where we do get the land and the building, but we can also add a fee for equipment and other expenses, since it is a MUD and it's not in city limits.
Well, I think these
Can
are,
we amend that, and, I mean, if they agree, of course, but.
yeah, I'd have to agree. You've already approved the development agreement amendment, which talks about the acreage, and so all those things are pretty well approved. So you have this to basically align it. I mean, it's not anything new, but I think what you're asking is there a way we could seek another method
Yeah, help
to
us
supplement?
their development, their fire needs for that development.
You still have your regular ILA fee, which pays for operational and fire, both
Equipment.
equipment. If we could look at, there's 3 million for equipment, but I don't know that the 6 million was the number. So I was
just wondering if this is something we should, pause, or
Right.
if it's something that we need to approve.
You can certainly table
And
it.
then look at it
You
and,
can certainly table it, but you did approve the other amendment, so that's been done.
So this 750 is a tack on to what we're already charging on fee. Do you know what that
It
was?
was an increase.
Okay. So 750 increase to what it was.
It was,
It was
no,
750.
no.
No,
750 total. It was
Total.
originally 350.
yeah, I think it's double.
but that was the only thing that we had
So
in place.
$400 per fee.
$400 per unit increase on that fee.
Yeah. But were you just saying that there's also another fee in place, or that's the only fee that goes towards fire?
Oh, for fire.
You had fire.
Yeah, okay. I thought I just heard you say there was another fee that was already in place as well, for
Right.
equipment and stuff like that.
There was a payment for equipment,
Yeah, paving.
yeah. An upfront payment for a ladder truck and an ambulance.
Ambulance, brush truck.
Yeah.
So we already got that payment.
And we did.
Okay.
It's not 3 million, it was 1.3.
Okay.
And we've collected that fee already.
Okay. So, yes, you can table it, but I think it's consistent with what you have already approved. We could look at another method to supplement costs.
Thanks, Mark. So, yeah, to summarize a bit, well, first I'll make a point that I agree. I'd like to get back to the 6 million that they've already committed to, part of the original agreement, or whatever that number was. The fire station will serve more than just this development, so it is appropriate that we put some money into it, and they don't need to pay for the whole thing. But yeah, they ought to pay for whether it's per lot or a lump sum, for what they agreed to per the original agreement. But I think what we're hearing is we approved a DA last year, and this is just bringing the ILA up to speed with the DA, but we can review it. Would you like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion. I guess just H or H and I?
I would think both.
Okay, H and I. To approve. Motion to approve.
To approve or postpone action?
I thought we were approving.
It's in the development agreement. Okay. So you want to Katrina has moved to approve items H and I.
There you go.
Is there a second?
Second.
Lee has seconded that motion. Is there further discussion on the motion to approve items H and I? And there's some expectation on your part that we'd go back and try to find more ways to increase that funding? Okay. Hearing no other questions or comments, time for a vote. All in favor of approving items H and I, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Both items H and I are approved on a unanimous vote of 7-0. That concludes our consent agenda and takes us to individual consideration. Oops, sorry.
Really quick,
Yes, please.
I just want to know, was there a sound bite if anybody was going to ask about item J?
You have to check with Jake, our impact fee consultant.
Jake, what do your brakes sound like?
Quiet. I just wanted to know if there was a sound bite.
You could have come up with one.
Good.
All right, individual consideration. Item A, consider adopting an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 26, nuisances by adding Article 5, unattended collection container, Section 26-110, 26-120 for the city of Van Alstyne.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Here this evening to pick up where we left off a discussion back in November regarding unattended collection containers, also known as donation bins. And as you may recall, we had a lengthy discussion in November about these particular little structures, devices, whatever you'd like to call them. Currently, the city does not have any regulations for unattended collection containers. And so you see them located throughout the city in commercial properties and within right-of-way. The proposed ordinance before you would provide for a permitting process with annual renewal and also provide for placement allowances, proximity to be located within another unattended collection container, distances from residential districts, prescribe them within our C2 and M manufacturing zoning districts, and otherwise provide enforcement measures for illegal donation containers. And so where we left off in November, I think there was general support on behalf of the council for this ordinance, but there were some lingering concerns about what this ordinance would do and how it may prohibit, for example, a church from having a collection container out in their parking lot to solicit for donations and things of that nature. And so substantively, nothing has changed from the ordinance as it was presented in November, except for we did add one additional definition to the ordinance, which is to allow for an attended collection container. And so that was our attempt to try to remedy the concern by allowing churches, for example, that have staff on site where donations could be solicited, where you'd have a full-time staff member on site, a minimum of 40 hours per week, whose duties could include collection of such donations and materials. And that was our way to essentially enable a church to solicit donations from the public or their parishioners as they see fit, and not be in conflict with the intent of the ordinance, which was to prohibit the donation bins like was shown on those pictures in commercial parking lots and things of that nature. And so we think that, we believe that solves the concern that the council may have, and we'd recommend approval of this city-initiated ordinance, and glad to answer any questions you have of staff at this time.
Thank you, Alex. Questions from council?
I hate that it's me again, but didn't we also ask about permit fees for churches? Wasn't that also
Yes.
an issue of some of the council members?
Yes.
But they would fall under
No, that's
unattended
not,
ones, right?
that's not addressed.
Yeah,
But they would still require a permit because you didn't change that wording, right?
if a church were to have an attended collection container, there's no permitting requirements or fees associated with it. It would be considered a separate type of collection container than the unattended version that has the permitting and the fee associations that are included in your
So as
ordinance.
long as someone's at that building 40 hours a week, then they're covered?
And that collection container is on premise with the entity that's collecting the materials.
Thank you. Good question. Any other questions or comments from council?
So that would also mean, that wouldn't just be churches then?
Well, you'd have to have like Dollar General have a Dollar General collection fee or collection box that's out in front that's like actually connected to Dollar General and doing it. You couldn't have ABC company put one out in front of Dollar General and say, oh, well, Dollar General has somebody working there 40 hours a week, so that's tied to Dollar General. Like, you couldn't do that. You would have, or you could, but you had to pay a
But they
fee.
will, because it's not specific.
And they'll get hold
Well,
of
that's
it.
what
It could be any attended one. It doesn't say it has to be a church.
No, you just said it.
That's correct, and Councilmember Neal's correct, and these are hard things to solve, the scenarios and how folks will change and adapt to try to circumvent ordinances. If the Dollar General donation bin becomes an issue, then we would probably have to come back to council and try to address that scenario.
But in that scenario, it would need to be with their permission, that
Right.
such a bin was up, and they'd have to say,
Correct.
we've got these employees. Yeah, correct.
Yes.
It would be, the proceeds go to Dollar General, not, like Ryan said, ABC.
Correct.
And Dollar General's parking lot.
That's what I'm saying, the box would have to be connected to Dollar General completely.
Affiliated with the
Affiliated.
primary use, that's
Just
correct.
like the church's box is affiliated with
That's
the church. And you could connect that in all kinds of different ways. If the church serves that ministry and it's on their board or in their budget that they serve that ministry, well, that's a part of the church. That's legitimately a part of the church.
Oh, I understand, I'm just saying, people are gonna go and sneak under stuff. I think it's okay the way it's written now.
Any other questions or comments? Time for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ryan's moved to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Good. Angelica has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? That motion carries 7 votes to 0. Item B, we're going to postpone action on that because we only got one bid on the senior center parking lot, and we'd like to get, and it was not our idea of a good bid, so we're going to open that back up and see if we can get more bids and bring that item in under budget. So I think no action required on that. Item C, consider adopting an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Section 2-183, City Fee Schedule, adopted by replacing the current fee schedule with a newly updated fee schedule. Alex?
Thank you very much. Mayor and Council, we are proposing a series of amendments to our fee schedule, primary development related. I've got them, you've received the full red line in your via email today, perhaps yesterday as well. Essentially, you can parcel out the updated fees into either a category of new fees or updated fees. I can go through and answer any specific questions you may have about a specific fee, but generally speaking, we're currently doing engineering inspections or getting engineering studies or other services from engineering firms that we currently don't have fees to reciprocate and collect the fees for those services. And so what we're doing is proposing some fees that would help us recover some of the costs that up until this point we may be out of pocket for services that we're providing. So this would just show, this is a series of capital recovery fees. In addition to that, we have a couple fees that are related to some updated fees that relate to current fees that we've evaluated and we don't feel are competitive or necessarily comparable to the cost of service. And so I would consider these housekeeping updates to be more reflective of the cost of service that are being provided. So I gladly go through any one of these specific fees, but otherwise I would recommend approval of the ordinance as you received it as submitted.
Thank you, Alex. Questions?
Is this more for developers, or are we talking individuals just going out there trying to build a house? We're gonna get them $1,700, $2,600 for water and sewer tap fees.
These are fees that would be incurred by developers as well as builders.
So an individual building a house, this would apply to them too. I'm talking a one house build, not.
The only one I would have to defer on is the tap fees, where if an individual were to construct a house on an infill lot, their builder would be responsible for a tap fee. But whether you affiliate that cost to the homeowner or the builder, I would leave up to you. But by and large, most of these costs that builders and developers pay to the city, they end up passing on to their buyers. So I would suggest to you that the front line of these fees is going to be on the front end incurred by the builder or the developer and not an individual.
So this is what we're talking about, using our now hired engineers and worksite managers and stuff like that. If they have to go out in these particular times or go out, we're charging a fee to do that.
For after hours inspections, that would relate to in-house engineering inspectors that we have on staff. Early grading would be a fee that would be recouped for the costs of our engineers going and doing grading inspections and things of that nature. The infrastructure inspection fees under the updated fees would also be affiliated with our new in-house engineering staff and inspections that they're performing on commercial and non-residential businesses. So yes, some of these fees are related to that in-house
engineering service that we're currently providing.
Anything that's outside the scope of what's just normal project, I guess, maintenance or normal project complete or work, essentially.
Yeah, this both tightens it up and also broadens it to encompass all the things that they're doing.
Okay. And is this consistent with other cities that are around us?
Yes, we've evaluated 8, 9, 10 other cities, and these are, a lot of these are sort of cut and paste from similar costs that other cities are passing on to developers as well to recoup their own costs.
Sounds good.
How far behind are we on updating our fees? Because, I mean, you're more than doubling the water and sewer. I'm just curious. When's the last time we updated them?
A long time ago,
Looks like it.
because I deal with water and tap and sewer fees. And I'm glad you said that this is comparable, because this is still less than what I'm paying in Dallas.
The council has the right to increase them if they see fit.
I think it's good, but, yeah, it's,
It's a start, if it's not enough, come back.
yeah. I don't want to go to the election, sorry.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, it's time for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
A motion from Dusty to approve, second was Katrina, thank you. Any further comments or questions on item C? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed or abstaining? That motion carries 7 votes to 0. Item D, and we're going to postpone action on as well. Those regarding a development agreement between Rislin Mantua and its assignees in the city of Alstyne, and there's still more work to be done on those development agreements and the MOU. Some of that is related to Kelly Lane development and some other issues. So not yet ready for council action on those 2 items. Any questions from council? Hearing none, we'll move to item 9, City Manager Report. Mr. Jones.
I know. It's very hard.
It's got a lighthouse.
It is.
And I print in 16 font too. First, Happy New Year. First meeting in the first of the year, and I wanted to kind of recap a couple of things from the prior year. But before I do that, I want to thank each and every one of you. We're going to have an election pretty soon. I'd like to keep every one of you, but I do want to recognize each one of you for what you do. It's become commonplace to make negative comments about council in general, make comments about people, but we at City Hall recognize the important role that you folks play. You're not paid to do this job. You do it because you care about our city. And I just would like publicly to thank this council for everything that you folks do. We don't always agree, but we always agree that we're trying to do the right thing, and I'm most appreciative of that. Secondly, I would like to thank all the boards and the members of the boards and the panels and all the groups that we put together. They too are volunteers. They give up their time. They're not just keyboard warriors. They care enough to give up an evening a month or more, many of them much more, to be able to do the job they do, whether it's the library board or planning and zoning or CDC, EDC, or whatever that board might be. We as city staff are very, very grateful for that work. We have good people who care a great deal about Van Alstyne. And thirdly, I'd like to thank city staff. We're blessed beyond measure. I'm happy to have Joey Grissom join the CDC EDC as our executive director. He is a valued member of our senior management team in Van Alstyne. I think it'd be a great addition to what we're doing, but it goes beyond that. It's every member of city staff has just done an outstanding job in 2025, and I'm looking forward to 2026 as we go forward. So thank you for all of you and for those that I'm speaking to. As we kick off 2026, we do so with the understanding that we remain good stewards of our resources. As presented this evening, our fiscal year-end audit has been completed, presented, and approved. It was a clean audit. The audit was clean, indicates the continuing dedication of our management at all levels to dot the i's and cross the t's and make sure that we account for our financial revenues that we receive and that we are managing our expenditures accordingly. We like a third party telling us whether we're doing a good job or not, and finance has done a good job of getting our house in order, but it's right down to the individual working in a department that's managing that particular document, that particular check, that particular purchase that makes that kind of an audit take place. 2026 is going to be a year of accomplishments. Our downtown street project is scheduled to be complete in July or August of this year. We're very excited to get that project done. We're already starting work on a number of events to introduce our newly completed downtown to our community with Falderall and Holiday 2026. So that will be taking place. The public safety facility is scheduled to be completed in the fall of this year, maybe winter of this year. I spent an hour with a contractor and with our police chief walking the facility this week. Concrete's poured, steel is going up, masonry block is going up. In the next month or two, we'll schedule a time that you all can come out and take the walk around the facility. With steel being delivered, you're going to see it coming out of the ground and start to see something I think we can all be very excited about. So that is coming in the near future. A new shared use path will be installed that connects Hines Park to Forest Moore Park, providing a wide combined pedestrian bike trail constructed between those two, with 80% of that funding paid for with a grant. We'll complete and open the senior center located on city-owned property. The 4,000 square foot structure will serve the needs of this segment of our population well into the future. Located adjacent to our newly opened Van Alstyne Recreation Center on W.A. Denton. We anticipate completion in late March. We'll continue our efforts making water and wastewater improvements in our city. We hope to be installing aerators in the near future and making improvements to the effluent that we're putting out into the creek behind us. The efforts of our dedicated city staff team continue forward, and as I said, I'm very proud of them. In closing, we look around Van Alstyne, you'll start to see our patriotism as flags have been placed on all, or 250-year flags have been placed on all of our city-owned flagpoles. I think Dusty and I are meeting tomorrow evening to talk about the plans to be able to make Van Alstyne the most patriotic city in the United States. So we're excited with the efforts that we're moving forward there, and we'll be coordinating with Dusty and the city staff tomorrow. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for the city manager? Thank you, Mr. Jones.
I'll take my lamp and leave.
That concludes item 9 and takes us to item 10, mayor and council closing comments. We'll start to my right. Mr. Neal.
Just thank you for coming out. Sorry I was a tad bit tardy, but appreciate y'all being here. And Yeah, 2025, thank you for all that y'all do. All the volunteers, all the staff, Lane, for everything you do. Happy New Year's too. Just appreciate all of y'all. And we couldn't do what we do from volunteering up here without all the hard work y'all put into it and giving us all the information accordingly. So appreciate it.
Marla?
Same. Sweet.
Dusty?
Yep, thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Lee?
Thank y'all for coming. Happy New Year. Glad to see everybody here for the first turnout. I know it's been an interesting 2025, but 26 will be good.
Katrina?
Start with Ryan and there's nothing else to say.
Is that it? You
I'll
covered
repeat
it?
what Ryan says.
Say ditto.
Yeah. Angelica?
Same, thanks for everybody for coming out, we appreciate it, and big thanks to city staff for everything you guys do, so we're excited about everything that's happening in 2026, so.
Thank you. Got a few things to bring to everyone's attention. City Council has a workshop scheduled on January 27th at 4:30 at this space. I'd like to recognize a few people here in our audience. Josh Moore is here, our County Commissioner. Thank you, Josh, for coming. Clay Barnett is Vice President of Hoyt Zollers, so we're glad to have Clay with us. He was on the consent agenda tonight, so we'll be doing some business with him as Tristan sees fit and Alex. So we'll be hearing more from Clay and his staff, I'm sure, as we have engineering projects. I do want to recognize Joey as well. If you haven't met him, Joey, if you would stand up for us, please. And if anything you want to say or introduce yourself.
Just look forward to working with everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Grisham. We're very much looking forward to working with you as well. Got a couple of little housekeeping things here. As you may recall, we voted last year on tax appraisal people. So for Collin County, persons elected by all the citizens, I think all the communities in Collin County, I think we get one vote. It was Doug Bender and Jason Ross out of Collin County. We get considerably more votes in Grayson County.
We get 0 votes in Collin.
We get 0, okay, thank you. Yeah. We get considerably more in Grayson County. So the Central Appraisal District has reappointed Charlie Williams and Brad Morgan, and we supported Mr. Williams, a local resident. So you'll be glad to know that he is serving again. He tells me perhaps his final term, but he is going to serve again. The library is undergoing renovation, so but the mini library is open in the back of the rec center. So check it out. The library, hopefully we'll look forward to it getting reopened here, and I think you'll be very well amazed and impressed with the changes that are happening at the VA library. And if you haven't signed up for the VA newsletter, please do so. You can see Mike for details on how to do that. But that comes out every week on Mondays, typically, almost always, and chock full of information about what's going on in our community. I think that is all I have.
Can I ask Lane one question?
Yeah, please.
The senior center, what's the status? When do we anticipate that being open?
End of March.
Okay, you already said that? Okay. Had a
Are we
feeling.
gonna do a grand opening?
You got. It'll be well attended.
I'll be there. I'm getting close.
Excellent. All right, and yeah, very much looking forward to that. The timeline is critical in that because, as y'all know, we're doing street improvements downtown, and we want to get those folks moved before we tear up Main Street in front of their current meeting facility. So we have some business for closed executive session. Y'all are welcome to hang around and hear the results of that, if any. I'm not anticipating that we will be able to announce anything, but let me read this. For item 11, in accordance with Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 551, Open Meetings Act, the City Council may meet in closed executive session pursuant to applicable laws. We will invoke Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. For item 1, Treasure Island Laguna Azure LLC versus City of Alstyne. We'll get an update on that. Application of Grayson County Mud District number 6A. Application of Grayson County Mud District number 6B. And the previous item that we postponed until executive session, presentation by Special Counsel Mark Hauser of Brown and Hofmeister, updating council on Grayson County Municipal Utility District 6A and 6B. So I make it 7:52, and at this point, council will go into executive session. We'll move to this conference room back here. Mr. Jones could join us, and Mr. Hauser and Mr. Ritter. All right, we are back. It is 8:30 p.m., and we are back out of executive session and into open session. We have no appropriate action as a result of the executive session. Appreciate our attorneys staying with us and making the trip to Alstyne. And at 8:30, we have completed all business on our agenda, and we are adjourned.